Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? It's Halloween '08, and what a Halloween this is. I didn't realize that there were going to be a bunch of guys dressed up as baseball players parading as the Phillies World Series heroes, but it happened today in Philadelphia. And if you're just joining us from around the country and around the world, yes, it is Philadelphia's big day. The Philadelphia's, if you didn't know about it, Philadelphia Phillies have won the World Series in '08, and I guess we can say that the Philadelphia curse is over. And a lot of destruction took place in centers, and you couldn't help it with the millions of people that were there. It was just a nightmare in the surrounding areas. I didn't go into Center City, Philadelphia by no stretch of the imagination, but from the reports from Center City, where there were positive and there were negative. One bar owner said it was so great that he made so much money during the Phillies World Series with the rain out and the rain delay and the cancellation and the replay that the $8,000 worth of damage they did to his bar, he was willing to pay his insurance deductible and not worry about it. So the good side is, and the bad side is, of course, there's always a good side and a bad side. But congratulations to the Phillies ball players. And it just shows if you get paid $10 million a year, folks, you can do the job right. And not on minimum wage. These guys don't work on minimum wage. But one of the articles in the paper that I found interesting was that the new ballpark has generated a tremendous amount of money so that the owners can pay for better players. Hello? Of course, a lot of money has been circulated back into Philadelphia. I suppose they anticipate between 20 and $40 million that will go to Philadelphia. So that should hopefully bail out the city of Philadelphia that has, I think, about $180 million shortfall. But we'll see what they do with the money, won't we, folks, after all of the jubilation is settled down. A lot of hangovers, I would say. My problem is not with drinking, but with amateur drinkers. And there are too many amateur drinkers out there. If you people want to learn, what's wrong with America, folks? We just don't know how to drink in America. Countries all over the world drink don't have the problems that we have here in America. Maybe it's because we have this 18-year-old or 21-year-old limit. In my opinion, children should be taught to drink in the home. A little wine when they're young, gradually learn that alcohol is not a bad thing. It's when you abuse it. That's not from smoking, incidentally. Anyway, my name is Irv Homer. We're broadcasting from irvhomer.com. My website, www.irvhomer.com. Email address is evilirv@irvhomer.com. And this technology is brought to you by RGH Computer Services. Now, one of the big things about computers today is theft, of invasion, hacking. Well, RGH is completely knowledgeable of how to prevent that hacking into your system and dealing with your security. So you can call them at 215-322-8685, 215-322-8685. Also, do we have a drum roll someplace around here? No, we don't have a drum roll.
Not yet.
Not yet. But guess what? We have instituted on tonight's program, and we may run into some technical glitches, so we apologize in advance. Why is it all day long I was doing fine? Now I have a cough. So you'll excuse me. But we have instituted a phone line into the Irv Homer studio, and I will give you the telephone number, and you do not have to go to the chat room anymore. You can go to the telephone, and the telephone number, write it down. I'll give it slow. 215-253-8877. 215-253-8877. That's a Philadelphia area code, 215-253-8877. No, we don't have an 800 number to pay for the phone calls. We have a very limited budget here. In fact, we're cheap, is what it is. But the telephone number is 215-253-8877 if you care to discuss anything that comes up on the program tonight. And I'll give the phone number during the program. Write it down. It's 215-253-8887, and that is the local area code 215. The new ballpark, of course, and the Phillies, the excitement of the Phillies will probably die down in about 2-3 days, and then voila, on Tuesday we have the election, not only of the presidential candidates, but many other candidates in the lower offices. And the big debate is whether the Senate and the House will become Democrat or whether it will still be a majority of Republicans. And that is the election, in my opinion, that is more important than the presidential election, because anything that any president suggests or submits has to be approved by Congress. Unless they circumvent the Constitution and use all these executive orders, which leads to a dictatorship. I don't know why they're worried about Obama moving the country toward socialism, or McCain moving the country toward fascism. We've given away our right as people, citizens of the United States, to dictate our own policy by giving presidents unlimited power with a war moratorium of 90 days, War Powers Act, income tax laws, various things under which we've lost our power. And for those idiots on the left who constantly say the administration, we've lost our rights. We have lost our rights. Younger, poor people have lost their rights under this administration and other administrations. And you're going to say, oh, there you go, wherever you're a lefty. No, I'm not a lefty. I'm a nothing. You don't know what I am. I'm in the middle. You don't know whether I'm a conservative or liberal. I deal with the issues. And why I say that, I have to get in my car. Oh, first I have to have my house tested for radon. Okay? Then you have to have your house tested for termites. Then you have to have your house tested for compliance with all of the regulations before you can get a certificate of occupancy. And then you're allowed to sell your house. Maybe, if you get a mortgage. And then you must maintain and keep your lawn cut to a certain length. And you must keep your snow removed from the sidewalk. And you must park where it says parking only. And we, on the lower level of the economic ladder here, have to comply with all of these regulations. And if you're a small businessman, you've got regulations up your wazoo. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. OSHA, POSHA, KSHA, PISHA, PASHA. You got more damn things that you've got to deal with as a small businessman to try to make a living. And then these fake, phony, fraud politicians say, oh, we're business friendly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, ain't nothing friendly about the business, believe me. You have a small business. And small business, I've never been able to determine what it is. There's a guy that makes $60,000 a year, $50,000, $1 million. What the hell is a small business? We're middle class. What the hell is a middle class American? Is a middle class American the same in Philadelphia, New York, Chicago as a middle class American in the state of Delaware?
That's our first phone call.
That's a telephone call.
Yeah.
Scared the living daylights out of me.
I'm sorry. I'll fix that sound.
All right, let's take our first phone call on the Irv Homer Show. Good evening.
I think it's fitting that the first phone call you get on the Irv Homer Show should come to you from around the world, from Thailand, from Howard from Drexel Hill.
Well, Howard, how are you?
Well, I'm wonderful, Irv, but I'm very disturbed, which, of course, a lot of people have always accused me of being.
Why are you disturbed? I think you've always been a clear-thinking individual who marches to his own drummer, and of course, a lot of folks don't like the band you're playing in.
It used to be 50-50 on WWDB. I had those that hated my guts, and I had those that loved me, and those that loved me seemed to be a majority of strippers at night, and the ones that hated my guts were the ones that didn't like what I had to say, but that's okay.
Well,
listen, have you heard about the Army bringing back troops from combat in Iraq and stationing them in the United States?
Well, I've heard a lot of rumors, Howard, of what they anticipate after this election. And the fact is that the Army and the National Guard in America is to support the local police to a degree that I'm a little worried about. I'm also concerned about the. I'm also.
This is not the National Guard.
Yes, they're going to.
This is no. This is not the National
I
Guard.
know that,
This
but
is confirmed.
But I said to support the National Guard and to support the local police and institute a national police department.
Well, isn't that the camel's head poking under the tent with an automatic weapon?
Of course it is. Of course it is. The political system in America today and the economic system in America today, Howard, has a popularity rating of about 2%. Politicians are worried and frightened, both sides, both the McCain side and the Obama side. People are not being able to meet their bills. They're going into bankruptcy. Their real estate is depreciated. Their retirement funds are depleted. And the government that is in power is scared out of their pants. And so don't be surprised if you do see a national police force in America within the next 8 years.
Yeah, but police forces are hired and trained, and they're not trained. They're obviously trained to use lethal force, but they're not trained to go through towns, which we're having right now. In Denver, we had the Army and the Marines flying helicopters inside the city of Denver, with Marines, 2 on each of the skids, flying into buildings, dropping them off on the roofs, taking over parts of the town, and doing military exercises at night with Black Hawk helicopters. Remember those things we used to call black helicopters?
Sure.
That everybody said didn't exist?
Right.
Well, and the civilians on the ground who were filming them were the recipients of flares with little flags, little United States flags, which I still can't understand how they threw the flag on the ground, but also it might have had a U.S. Army banner or a U.S. Marine banner, and those were simulated grenades. So they're dropping grenades on the civilian population. This is a practice run on how to take over the cities. They're doing it. They did it in South Carolina, where the military came in and took over a town where they were searching vehicles of citizens. I got to tell you something. If I was still in America, Irv, and you know me, you know I was vocal. You know that I called the radio stations. I was probably one of the few people that was well known who wasn't a host. And I used to call the radio stations to effect change. I wanted to get the message out. But now I would be on a list. Now if I went to the political rallies, I would be the one that's maced, or I would be the one that's tasered, or something like that, for asking political questions that were smart and pointed and not fluff balls that most of them are handing out. I got to tell you something. I sit over here from Thailand. I'm living my life. I watch the stuff that goes on YouTube, and I'm sick to my stomach about what's going on in America. And while everybody else is celebrating, great, the Phillies won, or the sports or whatever, America is being taken over, and it's not happening slowly. I see this as the most dangerous time right now, the most dangerous time in America, and it scares the crap out of me.
Well, I can understand your attitude, Howard. I also see it. Of course, at my age, I'm on the way out, so I'm not going to have to live with it. But young people are going to accept it as a way of life because they've never been trained to think for themselves and to be individuals. You have to remember that the government has imposed itself in everybody's life up to their head, and then you hear the phony conservatives who have never voted libertarian in their life. They want all of the government goodies. They want the government handouts. They want the government Social Security. They want the government small loans for their businesses. They want aid to dependent children, and they want college loans and grants. But they're conservatives, you know. They're full of crap, as the liberals are, because the liberals believe we're entitled to it, and the conservatives lie about it, that they don't want it, but they never turned a check back from the government that they ever were afforded. So when you have that type of individual in America, plus the fact we've got so many different... Well, who the hell today, Howard, is an American? The Asian community, the Hispanic community, the Russian community. We don't have a diversified America today. We've got a divided America that is so divided that each group of people, whether it's ethnic or religious, are only interested in their own damn thing. They're not interested in America. So who was the average American? Well, when you have a division like that, that's when you have one of these saviors come in and say, like a Hitler, we'll save you. And people will capitulate to this savior and give up their rights and give up their security because they are too damn dumb to think for themselves.
Well, when 9/11 hit, the day of 9/11, I said to a friend of mine, we were looking at it, and I said, you mark this day. This is the day that everything that they had been doing to cook the frog will be accelerated. And I was exactly right. They have used 9/11, and I don't know if they have used it up by now or not. And I'll tell you what my biggest fear is. Now, I know you and I disagree on who did 9/11. You think it was the Arabs. Whether or not it was, you still got to ask the question, how did it happen? How did it happen the way it happened? And it didn't happen the way the government explained it. But my biggest fear, and I tell you this absolutely with sincerity, my biggest fear is that they're going to nuke a city. And when I say they, I mean my government, my United States government, whatever rogue operation operates within and owns the White House, they're going to nuke a city. Maybe more than one city. Maybe it'll be Philadelphia. Maybe it'll be where all my family is, where all my friends are, and all my customers as well. But they are going to do something, and it won't be as sloppy as 9/11. That's probably a guarantee, and there won't be much evidence left.
Well, my theory is, Howard, that it will be an accident as Chernobyl was. There will be an accident. There will be an accident or an incident because as more and more anarchy develops after this election, regardless of who wins, as more and more anarchy develops, there's going to be more and more restriction on your ability to be mobile in America, and your government our government is going to invade your privacy and your life you've never seen before. Howard, thanks so much for calling and being our first caller.
Always a pleasure.
Take care, my friend. We do have a telephone line, ladies and gentlemen. That number to call is 215-253-8877, 215-253-8877. My disagreement with Howard on 9/11, and I'll go back to it, 9/11, in my opinion, was conducted by Saudi Arabia. It was a state-sponsored terrorist act, and that was to prevent the Wahhabis from taking over the Saudi Arabian government. It was Saudi Arabia that forced our Air Force out of Saudi Arabia. It was the Saudi Arabian government that didn't permit American female service people to walk around in their uniform, prevent them from driving automobiles. So it doesn't make sense to me now. Somebody said, well, what about the way the buildings came down? It was very simple. If there had been explosives placed in those buildings by Saudi Arabian terrorists, by demolition experts, unbeknownst to the security of the World Trade Center buildings that never inspected it, at a particular time, those explosives could have been triggered and those buildings would have come down the way they did. So there are many, many theories, and I think my theory has a lot more credibility than the one that the government imposes. Our telephone number is 215-253-8877 if you care to discuss the upcoming election, the economy, the Phillies winning the World Series pennant. And I know tonight is a night of jubilation in Philadelphia, and all the drunks are out. Now, I made money on you drunks. I think drunks are the backbone of America. So I don't say it with any discriminatory policy or insulting policy, but learn how to drink. I mean, some of you are really sloppy drinkers, and you wreak havoc and you drive cars, and you're just an irresponsible drunk. I like responsible drunks, not you irresponsible drunks, you hell raisers and breaking windows. What are you going to gain from it? What are you going to gain from it? Anyway, my name's Irv Homer, and I know it will be a slow night. It is Halloween 08, and as far as why didn't they close the schools in this Delaware Valley area? What was the big deal that they had to have the schools open. I know little whippers that went to the game. They went to the games, they saw the games with their parents, and this was a day of celebration. So it would have been a snow day. Big deal. If we have snow, they close the schools. Now, are they going to have an excused absence, or will this be an unexcused absence today? And what it's going to do?
I have a question.
Yes.
I've gone through school enough to know. I've always asked the teachers and even administrators at school, and none of them could answer this question. What's the difference between an excused absence or an unexcused absence? And I always thought that, all right, I turn in a note, and that's an excused absence. Do they define it as an emergency that you were not here?
The school system has established a list of what is excusable and what isn't. And so you have to meet that line now. Parents can lie and say the kid's sick. That's an excused absence. Of course, it's not excused that the parent lied to the teacher or lied to the student. The kid knows my parents are a liar. I wasn't sick. I went to the ball game. So what we do as parents sometimes teach our kids how to lie. See, and that's true. I mean, you people have done it, right? You know damn right well you've done it. Then you wonder why the kid lies. Well, you just got to. But if you would write the truth to the teacher that you took your child to the ball game or you took him to the celebration, that's an unexcused absence, Mr. Homer. Well, screw you. I'm not going to lie to you or to my kid if I decide to take him to the ball game or take him to the celebration today. So you either can be truthful and there's no such thing as a white lie. A lie is a lie is a lie. 215-253-8877 is the number. The guest that we had on Wednesday night, Philip J. Berg, who has, in my opinion, shown to me, demonstrated to me with his legal acumen, the fact that Barack Obama is not an American citizen, and tuning around the dials after Wednesday night, there was some comment made about it, about his appearance. No one divulged where his appearance was on Wednesday night. Thanks, guys. It's all right. You can listen in and copy what I do. I have no problem with that. But what had happened was that I heard bits and pieces, but not the whole story. And if you're going to criticize something, whether it's on my program or any other program, don't be like the 5 blind men of Pakistan who were trying to describe what an elephant is like. See, 5 blind men of Pakistan were asked to describe an elephant. And one of the blind men grabbed the elephant's tail and said, well, an elephant is like a rope. Okay? The other elephant grabbed his leg and said, oh no, an elephant like a tree. Like a tree, yeah. Okay? The other elephant grabbed his snout. No, an elephant's like a hose. Like a hose. Almost like a hose. The 4th blind man grabbed his ear and said, no, an elephant's like a fan. Like a fan. And the 5th one grabbed his tusk and he says, oh no, like a spear. Well, see, basically, folks, all 5 blind men were right. The only trouble is, none of the 5 blind men saw the entire elephant. And when you hear calls on talk radio, when you hear pieces in the newspaper, they're not talking about the whole elephant. And I would suggest that you go to obamacrimes.org, is that, Ron? .com. obamacrimes.com, and look at the facts and the information that Philip Berg Esquire has compiled and filed a federal lawsuit in stating that Barack Obama, is not an American citizen. Now, he's not being a racist, he's not being anything. These are the facts. And after the program on Wednesday, I was speaking with Philip, and I said, Philip, I've known him for many, many years. I can address him as Philip, and I'm sure he doesn't object to it. The Constitution of the United States has been so destroyed and misinterpreted that this is just another way of ignoring the basic Constitution. When I hear people either on the left and the right talk about the Constitution, I'm a constitutionalist. So some of you boobas heads out there do the same thing. I believe in the Constitution of the United States. Well, let me read you something. Okay, can I read you just Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States, and maybe you can call and respond to this. I don't get it. See, it says here. Let me see. Here. I just had it out here. Why did I? Here, hold on, America. Just stay right there. The history of the flag. See, this is my Bible, folks. People ask me, do you have a Bible? I say, yeah, this is here. See, the Declaration of Independence, ladies and gentlemen, is the basis of the Constitution of the United States. You can't read one without the other. If there's any questions in your mind about the Constitution of the United States, go to the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence were the grievances that the Founding Fathers filed against King George of England, saying if you would correct these grievances, then there won't be any War of Independence. So you can't read the Constitution and say, well, gee, what is that? Well, go back to the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence will tell you what they meant. Now, we hear a constant thing about, Obama believes in welfare. Well, let me read this, and maybe you can interpret it for me. Why don't I write things down and do it the way people should do it that have a brain? I don't do it. Okay. Don't go away, folks. I do apologize. I do apologize for this because I had it all out, and there I go and I blow it. Okay, here it is. Here, the preamble to the Constitution of the United States. Now, many of you folks love the Constitution, have never read it, or you'll take excerpts out of the Bible. Do you know that when I was on WWDB, I was forbidden to read parts of the Bible? Yeah. I was forbidden to read the Songs of Solomon. I couldn't read parts of the Bible. They were pornographic by definition of the Federal Communications Commission. They were. Well, the preamble of the Constitution of the United States. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now, what does this mean? What does promote the general welfare mean? Spread it around your friends and your community, whether you're on the left or to the right, Democrat or Republican. What does this preamble mean when it says that the government's right is to promote the general welfare? What does it mean? All my life and my career, from the time I was a student in school, when I read something like that, some brilliant educator of mine or learned individual used to tell me, well, that isn't what it means. And I used to say to myself, well, if that isn't what it means, why did they put it there? So the vagueness of this one preamble boggles my mind. What does it mean when it says, promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this country of the United States of America? And yet when the government does promote the general welfare, the right gets all bent out of shell, and the left says, hey, I can go on welfare. This is where it is important for people of sane mind, both on the left and the right, Republican and Democrat, to get together and define what means this part here where it says promote the general welfare. I had mentioned before that we are gradually losing our rights. And we are losing our rights. And I spelled it out, wearing seat belts and airbags and dreidels and you name it all over your life. Small businesses have to have so much paperwork. My doctor has more bookkeeping in his office than he has nurses. He has 2 bookkeepers and 1 nurse and 1 receptionist. But isn't it amazing that the big boys from Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns, they never felt that the government was infringing on them one bit. They got away with any damn thing they wanted. They put out mortgages that you know you couldn't pay. They loaned out money of your money, taken from your 401k, with abandon. They just threw money all over the damn world. So the rich boys in America, the powerful boys in America, the thieves of America, with complicity from the United States Senate and the House of Representatives, they never lost their rights to take your money and my money and piss it away. We're the ones that are living with the restrictions. We're the ones that are living with all of the infringement on our rights. You remember that crazy judge? He was against gun control, but then someone broke into his brother-in-law's swimming pool and he pulled a gun on him? That's the hypocrisy that we, the poor people, the middle-class people, the working people of America have to tolerate. So the rich and the powerful folks, they're not losing their rights. They're getting more rights. They're getting more rights to steal from us than steal money from us to bail out the thieves that stole the money from us in the first place. And what safeguards have been put in place to prevent another stealing of $750 billion or another $150 billion? And how much money has gone down the rat hole in Iraq and Afghanistan? Let's assume that I'm for the war. Let's assume that everything is fine. We had to go there, blah, blah, blah. Weapons of mass, all that crap. What about the billions of dollars that have been lost through thievery, no-bid contracts, waste, mismanagement? And where is our dear friend Donald Rumsfeld, that creep? Why don't the Democrats parade before the Republicans all of the fake, phony frauds that Bush gave us for 8 years that were going to be the salvation of this government? The Tommy Franks generals and that ilk, and the Donald Rumsfeld of that ilk, that when he was questioned about having armor plate on Humvees, he said, well, you go to war with the equipment you have. Well, why the hell didn't you go to war, Donald, with the equipment you had? We have, without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, the 2 dumbest political parties the world has ever conceived and this great country of ours has ever conceived. Listening to the Republican Party, including John McCain, who said, you know, the Democrats have a well-organized political campaign and Obama should be honored that he has that. Well, what the hell's wrong with you Republicans that you can't do it to overtake Obama? And I make a prediction right now that this election is going to be a lot closer than you think it's going to be. Not because McCain is a better candidate or Sarah Palin is a better vice presidential candidate. But people, if you study the psychology of the human race, are reluctant to change. You're reluctant to change. You will tolerate abuse. It's evident when it comes to child abuse, and it's evident when it comes to spousal abuse. Many women will not reveal the fact that their husbands beat the hell out of them for fear they'll be embarrassed. They may be ashamed. They don't want to reveal it. So they will take the physical abuse of their husbands rather than to do something about it. And we American people are willing to take more abuse than to do something about it. So this, we've got to change, we've got to change, we've got to change. Change what? I do not count John McCain out of this race on Tuesday. I am not telling you who I'm voting for. Once again, it is none of your business, as it is none of my business of who you're going to vote for. But if you're going to vote for change, you're voting for clean air, whatever that is. It's something that you can't see, you can't feel, and you don't know if it's changed. But I want you to ask yourself in all honesty, if this is the best 4 candidates that this country can put up to be the president and vice president of the United States, we are in big trouble. And then if you go through the Congress, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, and see what's on their plate, if that isn't more frightening to you, then I don't know what the hell is ever going to frighten the American people. But what I saw today in Philadelphia, with all tribute to the Philadelphia Phillies, the baseball team, was mob demonstration, mob mentality on the streets of America. And someone called me today and said, Irv, why do you think there's such demonstration? Why do you think there is so much why do you think there's so much exuberance? Why do you think there's so much celebration? It's very simple. It's very simple. The local area, and the people in California are not worried about the World Series, believe me. Chicago radio is not worried about the World Series. This is a local East Coast issue between Tampa Bay and Florida on the East Coast and Philadelphia on the East Coast. This is not a national event. But the American people are so desperate for a win, and the people in this area are typical of the people of the rest of the country. They're so typical of needing a victory, any kind of victory, that they finally went totally berserk. We finally won something. We finally won something. We lost in Vietnam. We lost in Korea. We lost in Panama. We're not winning in Iraq and Afghanistan. You're full of crap. Winning what? What are we winning? Maybe the Iraqi people are winning. Maybe the people in Afghanistan are winning. We're not winning a damn thing there. So we needed a win in this area. We needed something to celebrate a victory. And that's why you saw on your television sets today, and you'll see them probably on the 11 and 12 o'clock news, and they'll replay it tomorrow and over the weekend, this mass hysteria of we won, we won, we won. What did you win? I didn't win nothing. They won. Some putz is paying $350 for a jacket. He thinks he won. Models and Trader Dick's and Sammy the bootlegger or whatever, they're making a fortune off of you suckers. You won. I saw old people in the restaurant wearing a World Series. The guy couldn't breathe. The guy was on oxygen. He's wearing a Phillies hat. He's wearing my World Series winner. Some old broad whose boobies were so big it looked like the 1949 Buick headlights. She's a World Series. This is the mentality, folks, of needing a victory. And if Obama wins the election on Tuesday, or if McCain wins the election on, just think of what that little transient demonstrations on Broad Street in Philadelphia and in local communities, Cottman in Frankfurt Avenue, just think of that nationwide with an Obama victory or a McCain victory, what the streets of America are going to look like when the polls close and the popular vote is counted. Because both sides are symbolic of the Philadelphia Philly fans that are hungry for a victory, that the McCain people are hungry for the victory, and the Obama people are hungry for a victory. And God help us when either one of them loses. If the destruction after a victory is as victimless as this was in Philadelphia, what do you think the destruction is going to be when your candidate loses? The anticipation of a victory of this election on Tuesday is so damn frightening to me, more so than what's going on in Philadelphia today. America needs a victory. America must regain its position in the world of respect and dignity, economic and military strength. And we have lost it in the 8 years of this Bush administration. And don't tell me that this is the greatest president we've ever had, because this administration has been a disaster to this country. My fear is that the 4 candidates that are proposed aren't a hell of a lot better. We have, without a doubt, or we had, after 9/11, the compassion, the sympathy, the understanding, and the love of the world. I hear idiots on radio saying, what do we care if the rest of the world don't like us? Really? Well, then why do we kiss their ass and give billions of dollars to Africa to fight AIDS, and billions of dollars to the Middle East, and billions of dollars for oil that we don't own? We are interdependent on the rest of the world for our standard of living and our total life. And yet you have these idiots, Mike Gallagher, Medved, Limbaugh, Hannity, super patriotic America. Not one of them damn bums ever put the uniform of this country on and went and fight and died for it. Oh, they have a son, and they have a son. No, you creep, your son's not on television. Our brave men. Well, what the hell's wrong with you, Limbaugh, being one of the brave men, you drug addict, OxyContin creep? I'm angry. I'm frustrated. Not so much because of the popularity of these lame brains, but because the ignorance of the masses of people in America that are following with legend these characters. Oh, I've got 8 million listeners. I've got 20 million. Let me tell you something. If these idiots that you follow blindly on radio today lose this election for John McCain, what the hell are they going to do? How could you not be embarrassed if you're a Rush Limbaugh, or if you're a Michael Medved, or if you're a Mike Gallagher, or if you're, and your candidate loses with your popularity and your millions of dollars that you're making? Wouldn't you creeps be embarrassed? You politicized him for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 2 years now, and your candidate still will lose? Doesn't that tell you something, you fake, phony frauds? Doesn't that tell you, the listeners of these people and the followers of these people, that they don't know what the hell they're talking about? Is there no shame with these people? There is no shame. They're making money screwing your mind up so bad that you will come up with every excuse under the sun as to why John McCain lost. You'll blame Acorn. You'll blame your right toe corn. You'll blame a bunion. You'll blame any damn thing under the sun. Maybe it's the stinking rotten messenger, John McCain, that you had on radio and television promoting your candidacy. The American people are not voting for Rush Limbaugh. They're not voting for Michael Medved. They're not voting for Mike Gallagher. They're not voting for Sean Hannity. John McCain, they're voting for you. So why don't you tell them to shut the hell up? I tune around the dials, and every one of them, John McCain and the Republican Party, has told you and your party you don't know how the hell to win the campaign. Now, is that a victory for... Do you need those kind of people as your friends on radio and television telling you and your Republican Party that you don't know how the hell to beat Obama? And are the American people that dumb to make these people celebrities and follow them blindly the way you do? That's what I fear. Who's going to be the next tyrannical voice on radio or television that Boobus America is going to start following? That's what I'd like to know. Oh, there'll be one that'll rise up from someplace. It ain't going to be me, because I don't give a damn. I care about my own survival and my friends and my family's survival. Screw the rest of you. You had an opportunity to make change for 30 years that I was on radio, and you decided to follow these guys. So you go follow them and lose your home because you can't pay your damn mortgage or your credit card is up your ass. I don't care about you. Those people who, of the many emails that I received that took my advice, not that I'm a counselor or a financial genius, but common sense is common sense, are not suffering the way they're suffering today. And if this country is lost because of Obama or because of McCain, it's your fault. It's the 20 million, 40 million, 80 million, whoever the hell it is, that have captured talk radio and talk television. And not their fault. They're making millions of dollars off your stupidity. I'll tell you right now, you don't hear them talking about the great Bush administration, do you? And if the Bush administration was so wonderful, why is it that John McCain is moving away from him? And believe it or not, that may be why John McCain may lose the election. Why do I say that? I want to make the analogy of Al Gore and Bill Clinton. When Al Gore moved away from Bill Clinton in 2000, he didn't want to be associated with Bill Clinton because of Monica Lewinsky. Well, he lost the election, didn't he? He lost the election, didn't he? Bill Clinton, one of the most popular presidents we ever had. Now he's the biggest fake, phony fraud that I've ever seen in my life. How does Bill Clinton, bless his soul, bless his poor heart, how the hell can he stand up in Florida this week and ask folks to vote for Barack Obama after what he did to his wife? Well, maybe he's getting even with his wife, I don't know. But there's going to have to be some close examination of the mentality of the American people after this election. Because if we continue to have the thoughtless, empty-headed, fuzzy-balled Americans electing candidates to run my life and your life, and we elect the caliber that we get, the Barney Franks, the Pelosi's, the Harry Reids, the Trent Lotts, the Newt Gingriches, all the Republicans that got thrown the hell out of office, and all the Democrats that have been thrown out and should be thrown out, then we're in trouble. This country is going to lose its power, its respect, its dignity, its strength. Great civilizations, ladies and gentlemen, if you study them over the years, have not been defeated by an outside terrorist. It has been defeated from within. The core of America is rotting away. We have a cancer in America that must be corrected. The cancer of America is the American people. I hear statements like, well, the typical American. What the hell is a typical American? What the hell is the American way? Do you realize that the people that sold you John McCain and sold you Barack Obama are the same people that sold you automobiles that blew up, refrigerators that don't work, pens that leak, space launches that blow up? They'll sell you anything. We're being sold a bill of goods by public relations and advertising agencies who will sell anything for a price. And you're too dumb to know it. Let me move on to the proposed Barack Obama tax plan and the John McCain tax plan. I had over 160,000 signatures on petitions circulated throughout the country in the 80s to change the tax code of the United States, the income tax code on the federal level, so that what is happening right now wouldn't happen. I was called before 2 federal grand juries because the IRS, and I have letters to prove it, did not like what I was saying on the air and threatened the management of the radio station. Oh, we live in a free country where you can say that you can tell the truth. Well, why the hell didn't the IRS come to me and say, Irv, this is where you're wrong. You have a right to speak freely, but this is where you're wrong. This is an error about the tax code. No, they went behind my back to management and threatened management if they didn't shut me up. They didn't have the internal did not have the courage to come to me and tell me personally. And as a result, was called before 2 federal grand juries to testify. I don't know what the hell I was supposed to testify to other than the truth. And the one time I was called before the Internal Revenue Service to represent a defense witness for one of my listeners, I embarrassed the hell out of them. That is our telephone line. Let's go to the phones. Hello there. Good evening.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm calling from Florida. Can you hear me all right?
Just like you're around the corner.
All right, fine. I'm from the Philadelphia area originally. I lived there most of my life, and I'm now down in Florida. But I'll tell you, the politics are just as bad down here as they are up there.
Oh, yeah.
And if not worse.
Well, Florida gave us George Bush.
You got that right.
Now, what is it?
No question about that down here. It's go ahead.
What is the flavor of politics down there? Is there going to be, in your mind, a large turnout? Forgetting either side, will there be? Is there a political interest down there in Florida right now?
Absolutely. It's very, very, I don't know, called busy, but the lines down here at the polls are just around the corner. They wait 3.5 hours just to vote down here.
And what area in Florida are you calling from, sir?
We're in southwest Florida, between Port Charlotte area,
Right.
near Fort Myers.
Right.
It's not just here. The East Coast, same thing. But the East Coast is more on the Democrat side, and this is definitely Republican side.
Well, Florida is an interesting state, and it's going to be an interesting state to watch because of what happened in the last election. And I think that the tenor of this election, my dear friend, frightens me because if either side loses, the other side is not going. It's not going to be a gracious acceptance of a victory or of a loss. Do you find the emotions running high down there?
Oh yeah, you should listen to the radio down here. It's absolutely insane.
Who are some of the people on talk radio down there? Maybe I know them.
These are just local radio stations. They're not national. They're just county stations.
Well, you're better off because they're directing the conversation to the local community that they serve.
Well, absolutely. There's no question about that. But it's so slanted that I can't even see these people walking down the street without slanting to the right. They can't even walk straight. It's crazy.
Well, we certainly thank you for calling, and tell your friends about it that we do have a telephone line that they can call the Irv Homer Show.
Good night. Have a nice election, and watch out for those Phillies up there. The crowds are crazy up there because I was up there in '80, and I definitely remember what was going on in '80. So.
Well, they're not reporting most of what's happening up here, but it almost looks like a full-scale revolution. So enjoy.
I saw some of it on TV where they were trying to knock over the Channel 3 truck.
Well, there have been over 75 arrests today so far. And that's not
typical for Philly.
Well, listen, they need a victory so bad that Philadelphia will be lucky if it's still standing here tomorrow. Enjoy.
Well, it's 28 years. You got to remember that.
I know, it's like getting a divorce after 28 years with a bad woman.
Well, Irv, it's been a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure, sir, and thank you so very much. Take care. That was a call from, this is great. We instituted our phone lines today. Our first call came from Thailand. The second call comes from Florida. Well, Philadelphians, I guess, Ron, are celebrating.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all, I mean, they're all drunk or passed out because there's no way. I heard they were going down there at 10 o'clock this morning, 8 o'clock. You can't tell me that by 10, 11 they were all sober.
Well, I got stuck. I had to go get my car fixed. I got stuck at a railroad crossing in Huntington Valley. Mm-hmm. There was a police car in front of me, and then there was a car in front of him, and then the railroad. And the thing was down to block the traffic from the train tracks. Right. And the stub was there. The train went by, and the thing was still down. I made a U-turn, and I was ready for the cop to follow me. As I was driving away, I still saw, I mean, the trains were so screwed. It was unbelievable. Well, like I said, we're going to go through it again after Tuesday night when the election is over. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back on Monday. On Wednesday night, the day after the election, John DePremio will be with us, a gentleman who started Citizens for Common Sense, and we'll review our perspective of the election. But what I said tonight, if you didn't hear it, you'll probably, a lot of folks will get on the archive, Ron, and hear what I said about this election. America needs a win, and Philadelphia needed a win, and we got the Phillies win. But whether Obama wins the popular vote or whether McCain wins the popular vote, folks, there's going to be hell to pay this Tuesday night when the polls in California are finally closed. So I can only tell you that emotions are running high, thanks to a lot of these nitwits behind the microphone, and I can hardly wait. And you don't know who I'm going to vote for. You don't know whether I'm voting for McCain. You don't know whether I'm voting for Obama. You don't know whether I'm voting for Cynthia McKinney, Ralph Nader. You don't know who I'm going to vote for. But I'll tell you this much. If I were these right-wing windbags, bloviators, on radio, and McCain loses, ah, 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 I'm Irv Homer. Till the next time.